From the Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Zahra Syed. Our top story tonight. Hundreds of Jewish Americans and their allies were arrested at the U.S. Capitol yesterday. They are calling on Congress to urgently advocate for a ceasefire in Gaza, where nearly 4,000 Palestinians have been killed in 13 days of relentless Israeli bombardment. The demonstration was led by groups such as Jewish Voice for Peace, If Not Now, and Jews for Racial and Economic Justice. It drew thousands of protesters to the Capitol grounds. Amidst the chants of "Not in Our Name" and "Ceasefire Now," the Capitol Rotunda echoed with the fervent call for peace. JVP vowed to continue the civil disobedience until Congress acts on the ceasefire demand. They called for an international outcry to stop the bombs in Gaza. Representative Rashida Tlaib, the sole Palestinian American in Congress, said most Americans stand against oppression, occupation, and human rights violations when told the truth. She had a direct message for President Joe Biden, urging him to reconsider his unwavering support for Israel. Israel receives over $3 billion in primarily military aid from the U.S. It has now asked for an additional $10 billion in emergency military assistance for its current war on Gaza. Joining Tlaib at the rally was Representative Cori Bush, who co-sponsored a resolution calling on Biden to push for a ceasefire. The protest followed a series of Jewish-led peace demonstrations nationwide, with further events planned in various cities. Senior State Department official Josh Paul has resigned from his post, criticizing the American government's actions in the recent conflict between Israel and Gaza. Paul, who was with the Bureau of Political Military Affairs, chose to resign because he strongly opposes continued U.S. military assistance to Israel. During his more than 11 years of service, Paul was instrumental in managing arms transfers and maintaining relations with Congress. His resignation underscores palpable internal dissent within the Biden administration, which has consistently supported close ties with Israel. Paul says he questions the ethical justification for the U.S. aid amidst the escalating violence, particularly affecting Palestinian children. Israel's current military goal of crushing Hamas and the movements of Gazans has prompted the United Nations to warn of an impending humanitarian crisis. Paul's public announcement of his resignation drew support from fellow diplomats and signaled there was concern in the State Department. The administrator of the Gaza-based Ahli Arab Hospital revealed the Israeli military had issued repeated warnings to evacuate the facility in the days before the strike. Archbishop Hossam Naum, who oversees the hospital, confirmed Wednesday that the Israeli military has issued warnings on multiple occasions since Saturday. The Gaza Health Ministry says the explosion was caused by an Israeli airstrike and claimed the lives of hundreds of civilians. Israel denied any involvement in the firing in the area and attributed the attack to a misfired Palestinian rocket. Despite differing accounts of the blast, the fact that Israel had issued repeated warnings before the strike means the hospital was on its target list. The humanitarian crisis for Palestinian children in Gaza is worsening as Israeli forces continue to target them. Since the start of a massive military offensive on October 7th, a Palestinian child has died about every 15 minutes. Nearly 1,300 Palestinian children have been killed by Israeli forces during this period. The official death and injury figures include only those who were hospitalized. An estimated 1,000 more Palestinians may be buried under the rubble of destroyed buildings, suggesting a much higher death toll. Palestinian children who survive suffer severe physical and psychological trauma due to the relentless Israeli bombardment and widespread internal displacement. Senior Gaza researcher at Defense for Children International, Palestine, Mohammed Abu Rukbah, says the far-reaching psychological impact on civilians and children goes beyond loss of life and homes. According to UNICEF, more than half were dependent on humanitarian aid for survival, and 1 in 4 children already require psychosocial support. Save the Children found that 4 out of 5 children suffered from depression, grief, and anxiety before the recent escalation. An Israeli airstrike targeted a mosque in Nuseirat refugee camp in central Gaza on Wednesday. killing and injuring a number of Palestinians, news reports say. Anadolu News Agency reports the strike on Al-Aqsa Martyrs Mosque has caused a widespread destruction in the area. Most of the Israeli airstrikes have hit civilian infrastructure, including hospitals, mosques, universities, media centers, government offices, and banks. So far, 17 mosques have been destroyed in Israeli bombing. Legal experts are emphasizing the importance of supporting an international criminal court investigation into the deadly attack on the Al-Ahli Baptist Hospital in Gaza. Palestinian officials claim it was an Israeli strike, while Israel denies responsibility and blames the armed group Palestinian Jihad. Legal expert Ahmed Abu Faul says under international humanitarian law, targeting civilian sites, including hospitals, is strictly prohibited and can constitute a war crime. Abu Faul is a legal researcher at rights organization Al-Haq, which has been affiliated with the Geneva-based International Commission of Jurists and is a member of the International Federation for Human Rights and Euromed Rights' Executive Committee. He cited examples such as the killing of Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Akleh, where Israel initially denied the involvement, but later admitted responsibility. Abu Faul also noted the bombing of a United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugee School, which the UN attributed to the Israeli army. He called on the Western leaders, including President Joe Biden, to support the ICC investigation if they are sure Israel did not commit the crime. He also stressed the need for equality in the treatment of Palestinians and urged leaders to uphold the international law and human rights principles. Scores of Palestinian social media activists are voicing concerns over perceived bias on various platforms. The Sada Social Center, an organization committed to tracking and documenting digital violations, reported thousands of posts have been removed since October 7th. Nada Basyuni, the center's media coordinator, has expressed worries about the Palestinian narrative facing significant threats on social media platforms. She notes that Meta, Facebook's parent company, has classified the phrase "from sea to river" as anti-Semitic. Meta announced on October 13th it removed or marked as disturbing more than 795,000 pieces of content and blocked several hashtags on Instagram, primarily those supporting Palestine. The Sada Social Center has documented more than 8,000 inflammatory posts in Hebrew targeting Palestinians on various social media platforms. These posts include calls for violence against Palestinians. She argues these measures contribute to erasing the Palestinian narrative and hindering the pursuit of truth. She also contended current restriction policies favor the Israeli narrative, which is spread on social media platforms without similar constraints. Yusuf Abu Watfa, chief editor of the Quds News Network, says Meta removed the network's Facebook pages, citing multiple policy violations. Pakistani doctors offer services in Gaza. Details come after the break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Hundreds of Pakistani doctors have volunteered to provide essential medical assistance in the war-torn Gaza Strip. Pakistani aid organizations are collaborating with counterparts in Turkey and Egypt to extend aid to Palestinians. Representatives from two leading Pakistani health professional bodies have reported hundreds of surgeons, anesthetists, and paramedics have offered to serve in Gaza's healthcare facilities. The Pakistan Islamic Medical Association and the Pakistan Medical Association say they are awaiting permission to enter the region. Pakistani NGOs, including the Al Khidmat Foundation, Ceylani Welfare Trust, and Baitus Salam Trust, have initiated communication with global relief agencies to explore ways of providing assistance to Gaza. This volunteer effort comes on the heels of Israel's bombing of the Al-Ahli Baptist Hospital in Gaza, killing more than 500 people, including children, patients, and paramedics. The World Health Organization has described the situation in Gaza as rapidly deteriorating. the WHO head Tedros Ghebreyesus emphasized the urgent need for medical aid. Waqas Anjum Jaffrey, Secretary General of the Al-Khidmat Foundation, disclosed that relief goods have already been handed over to the group's Turkish partners. They are sending further aid worth over $1 million in the coming days. Jaffrey says once a humanitarian corridor is established, trained disaster management teams and doctors, along with relief supplies, are ready to assist Gaza. A Republican congressman said his party's priorities remain cutting spending on key programs such as Social Security and Medicare. During the second vote on Jim Jordan's nomination as potential Speaker of the House, Representative Tom Cole praised Jordan's opposition to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. He called them major contributors to the national debt. Cole recalled his earlier efforts to propose changes to Social Security, like the 1983 adjustments that effectively reduced retiree benefits by 13%. Progressive politicians have warned Republicans would target Social Security and Medicare if they gained control of the White House and Congress. The GOP has consistently advocated cuts to these programs while favoring large-scale military spending. The advocacy group Social Security Works clarified the benefit is funded primarily by contributions from workers and employees and does not contribute to the federal deficit. Jordan has advocated cutting benefits by raising the retirement age to 70, which has been met with criticism. The leader of the Kansas branch of the Proud Boys has pleaded guilty to charges related to his involvement in the January 6, 2021 revolt at the U.S. Capitol building. William Cressman's guilty plea was part of an agreement with the Department of Justice and contains several notable elements. He pleaded guilty to obstructing an official proceeding and threatening a federal agent. The agreement, approved by District Judge Timothy J. Kelly, required Cressman to give a statement detailing his actions and admitting his guilt. The Justice Department agreed not to pursue further charges related to the actions outlined in the statement. Cressman indicated he was a second-degree member of the Kansas Proud Boys before the events of January 6th of 2021. In December of 2020, he planned to travel to Washington to protest the endorsement of Joe Biden's victory in the presidential election. He arrived in the nation's capital on January 4th of 2021, stayed at a Proud Boys safe house, and met with other members, according to his statement. The following day, Cressman joined the Proud Boys' march on the Capitol and urged others to go inside and broke through the police cordon. He later threatened an officer with an axe handle attached to an American flag before entering the building, according to a statement. Canada has classified the Proud Boys as a terrorist group in connection with its involvement in the Capitol riot. Cressman remains in custody until his sentencing, scheduled for January 12th. A self-proclaimed Canadian white nationalist who killed a Muslim family claims he was radicalized by various media outlets. Nathaniel Veltman, a 22-year-old facing 4 murder charges, 1 charge of attempted murder, and terrorism charges, has pleaded not guilty. Veltman does not deny running down the family after writing an anti-Muslim manifesto. He openly admitted he had hoped to inspire more anti-Muslim attacks. Veltman struck 5 members of a Muslim family waiting to cross the street in the Canadian province of Ontario, killing 4 of them. The sole survivor was the family's 9-year-old son. During his recent testimony, Veltman detailed what he believes led to his radicalization. He described encountering content related to the Great Displacement, a conspiracy theory popular amongst the far-right circles. The theory centers on minorities allegedly taking over white-majority countries. He also subscribed to the belief that Muslim violence is underreported by mainstream media. He cited his consumption of conspiratorial content from Alex Jones's InfoWars. That's all from our Toronto studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.